Alright, so I've never been the biggest Scream fan, to be honest with you. I watched the first one when I was a kid and rewatched it recently, and it's quite good, but it didn't blow my socks off or anything. I did quite enjoy the 2022's version, Scream 5. Again, that one was pretty good. I think it was somewhat on par with the first film. It didn't blow my socks off or anything, but it was quite creative and it did somewhat get me guessing watching it in the theaters about who the killers were. So that is a Scream movie I recommend, but I would say that Scream 6 takes the elements that worked in Scream 5 and brings it up a notch just a little bit, and it's a little bit of a better film. One of my biggest gripes with slasher movies such as Halloween and Scream is that the main characters never ever leave their hometown that regularly gets terrorized by these serial maniacs. Honestly, I found it refreshing that in the sixth movie of the Scream franchise, the main characters finally get the sense of finally leaving that totally corrupt town. It's kind of refreshing to have a Scream movie set in another city, especially a city that's completely different from their original town, like New York City. That allows the story of the movie to get creative with its location, which pays off to great effectiveness. In fact, one of my favorite horror movie scenes that I've seen in a very long time happens in this movie. That scene that you may have seen in the trailer where the main characters are in the New York subway. Without going too much into details, that scene was just done to perfection. Everything from the lighting to the tension and the camera angles and the acting. Watching that scene in a packed theater, everybody was just quiet during that scene and was feeling the tension. Now that scene by itself is definitely a 10 out of 10. Now I want to talk about the ending of this movie and how I felt about it. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. All I'm just gonna say is my feelings about the ending of this movie and whether the twist, quote unquote, was really surprising at all. I would say that the reveal about who the murderers are at the end is a tad bit predictable, but it doesn't really take away from the enjoyment of the film, because at the end of the day, there are other twists after the reveal that are more poignant. Now, I'm being purposely vague about the ending, just in case y'all haven't seen the movie yet. I'll just leave it at there is an interesting character setup for one of the main protagonists in the movie at the end that I find really interesting, and I am actually looking forward to see what they do with it in Scream 7. All in all, this was a really fun horror movies. I feel like we are starting to get a resurgence of good horror movies, because like 6-7 years ago, like 90% of horror movies that were coming out were pretty much mid or shit, but now we're getting a lot of bangers. Evil Dead is getting good reviews, so yeah, it's a good time for horror movies, I guess. I'm gonna give Scream 6 a 7 out of 10. It's a solid movie. It has a different and new take on the Scream formula, which I quite enjoyed, and I recommend watching this in theaters. If not, just watching on streaming. It's a good movie. Alright guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and watch out for my next review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.